Hey, what's going on, guys? So today I think I'm going to try and get the intake seals out of this intake manifold here. These seals have been, they're brand new, they're the original seals on the bike. They've been on the bike for 26 years, so they probably need to be replaced, especially since this bike has been sitting for 15 years, 14 of those in a basement. So I am going to be taking the fuel tank off because I got to get to the backside intake manifold bolts, and there is no way that I'm going to do that like this. That just isn't going to happen. So the tank's going to have to come off. I'm going to come at them from the top. So give me a minute and we'll get to work here. Alright, so I don't know if any of you have ever done this before, but whew, those can be kind of a bear to get to. You got this one right here, which isn't too bad, as long as you cut a couple of flex head ratchets, because it's really difficult to get in there at a straight angle. So you got to have something with a flex head on it. So once again, thank you, Justin Dow, for the 3/8 Matco ratchet. That thing was awesome. And then I also used this El Cheapo Pittsburgh dual pivot. This thing can actually come in really handy. That's a neat little ratchet that gets into some tight spots. And the other one is underneath here. This side is not that bad to get to. This side, on the other hand, is up underneath the wiring harness. And that wiring harness is jammed right on top of there, so that can be kind of a bear to get to. Anyway, I'm going to pop this tank off, and then we'll get to getting those intake seals out. Alright, so to come at it from the other side, got to get on these. And again, the extra leverage of that long-handled Matco flex head ratchet comes in really handy, because those suckers can be really on there. I mean, obviously they've been on there for 26 years, so they were in there really hard. So yeah, that long-handled flex head comes in real handy with that 12-inch long handle to get those horn mount brackets off of there. Then I'm going to have to get these two more bolts up in here too. These two right here. I'm going to have to come off. Be right back, and hopefully we'll have that bracket off for you. Alright guys, so I got the intake manifold off, and this is pretty much exactly what I figured I was going to find when I pulled that thing apart. These are supposed to be, let me see if I can get this thing to focus here. These rubber seals right here, they're supposed to be black, soft rubber. Yeah, right. Those things are pretty well... Look at all the crud on that thing. That is nasty. Just crudded up, dried out, old seals. So if you ever find yourself in a situation where you're restoring an old bike like this, these new rubber seals are cheap money. So let's see if I can get those old ones out. I'm going to have to grab my pick set, see if I can get those out, because those are in there really good. They are just swelled up and crudded right in there. So I'll be right back, see if I can get these things out. Yeah, that's pretty much you can expect a 26-year-old dried up manifold seals. They were on there so bad the mounting flanges didn't even want to go on there, and you can see that thing is, man, that thing is stuck in there. Ugh. So I'm going to have to clean these up before I put the new ones in, I think. Just run a little bit of emery paper over them. Here's the other one. Again, still kind of stuck on there. Jeez. Bunch of dust and See, I'm going to have to run a bunch of emery. I'm going to have to run some bit of emery paper on these things and clean them up a bit before I put the new seals in. But I'm feeling pretty good about that, guys. Got the old seals out. Wasn't too much of a chore, but a little bit of work, a little bit of a pain in the ass. Just so you guys can see, I don't let my tools sit, and they actually get used. So taking apart an old bike, this is another thing you're going to run into. Old Loctite. Crammered right up in them threads. Cramma-jamma, suckers. That stuff is cruddy and dirty and doesn't want to come out. So usually what I do is I just put it on the end of the Allen wrench here. Kind of hold it in place with my thumb. Use a combination of wire brushes and my picks for the really, really stubborn stuff. So just another trick for you guys to, get those things cleaned up, put some fresh Loctite in there when you put everything back together. You'll thank yourself for it later. So I'm in the process of putting this thing back together. Finally. I'll tell you what, those intake manifold seal bolts can be a real bear to get back in and to get out, just because they're in such a tight spot, and it can be really easy to strip them. So you guys just got to remember, if you're ever doing this kind of a job, just be really careful not to strip those things out. Just be careful of what you're doing, because it'll save you a lot of hassle in the long run. Man, I really love this ratchet. Let me tell you what. So much leverage, and you add in the flexibility, the ability to get into tight spots. Absolutely, 100% best tool I have ever had. And this is coming from a guy who just counted his ratchets and found out that he had 8 half-inch ratchets. And another 8 3/8-inch ratchets. There we go. Nice and tight. Beautiful. So about all I got enough right now. Got to put the fuel tank back on. Put the carburetor back on. Get that all hooked up. I got all the seals and everything and the jets all cleaned out and replaced in that thing. So the carburetor's good to go. Got to replace the tires, because they're junk 26-year-old tires that have been sitting in a basement for 14 years. They're about as soft as roller skate wheels and have about as much traction as whale shit on ice. There's the... See, they got a good amount of tread, but man, on live, there is no giving those things. So yeah, got to put the fuel tank back on, put the carburetor on, put the tires back on, get a battery in this thing, start it so I can get all the oil out of the crankcase, because that's where all the oil sumps into when one of these suckers sits for a while. All the oil is supposed to be in the bag, but it all just drains down the lines and into the crankcase. So to finish the service, you got to turn this thing on, run it for a while, get it up to operating temperature. All the oil comes back in the bag. Drain it, complete the service, and this thing should be ready to ride, guys. So I think that's going to be it for today. I'm going to clean all this up, get all the tools put away, and I will see you guys in the next video. Stay productive.